Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. And today I'm talking about ICE raids. Where do you stand on the question of ICE? Now, I know we have said that it's not our fight and we're not getting in it, and that is surprisingly based on something real. So I want to talk about that for a bit. Some Black Americans have expressed distance from ICE protests, especially during the 2025 Los Angeles raids. Reporting shows people advising each other to stay home and not get involved. And this sentiment was, summarized as this is not our fight. We're not getting in it. It's their fight. Let them handle it. Now, especially where the Latino communities are concerned, there is long-standing tension with Black Americans. So it's somewhat understandable that Black Americans have said that we're really not friends and there really wouldn't be any reason for us to put our lives at risk to help people who are not our friends. Black people living in Los Angeles have experienced anti-Blackness from Latino immigrants. Then there is a feeling among Black Americans that we have just carried the burden of racial justice alone for generations without any help from anybody else. It's almost as if people think, well, we're supposed to carry the burden. There's also the belief among Black Americans that Latino communities have not shown reciprocal solidarity during our struggles, and they have been many. So this isn't our fight, it's what's being echoed throughout Southern California, I would say, especially Los Angeles, when the ICE agents have targeted Latino communities. So that's one part of it, that where the Latinos are concerned, Black Americans are just adamant that this is not our fight and we're not going to get in it. And also to add to it, the sentiment that it's not our fight grew after Black Americans overwhelmingly supported Kamala Harris in the presidential election, only to feel that immigration issues were being framed as the responsibility of Black Americans to fix, when really immigration and deportation didn't even affect us. I think a lot of Black Americans didn't particularly like that idea that somehow Black Americans are supposed to jump in and fix the immigration issues. Now, what was interesting, and it's still interesting, that at the same time, one group of Black Americans were saying, this is not our fight, we're not getting in it. There was another group, and these are mostly Black activists like the NAACP and Reverend Sharpton's National Action Network. They issued statements supporting the immigrant communities and opposing ICE. These people are always involved in anything to do with protests. So they felt like the Black community should stand against ICE. And sometimes it sounds like they want to stand against anything to do with the government. So there was that contrast between the group that said it's not our fight and we're not getting in it. And then there's another group that says we always get in it. We always fight for justice, no matter who it is, no matter what the issue is. So there was that contrast going on. And some of the data shows that there is more solidarity between Blacks and Latinos than the data would suggest. But I think a lot of that depends on where you live. If you live among people and you have a good relationship with them, and if it's a long-standing relationship, then naturally you're going to be concerned about their cause and you're going to support them. If you live among people and you don't have a good relationship with them and you've experienced a lot of anti-Blackness coming from them, then you're not going to be so quick to join their cause. So Black Americans is split on whether to or not to support ICE and the ICE raids. So Black Americans are split on whether to get involved or not get involved in what's going on with immigration and deportation. Now, this brings us to another point. Black immigrants are directly targeted by ICE, and that shapes Black Americans' opinions too. Rolling Stone magazine highlights that Black immigrants are disproportionately affected by ICE enforcement, often at higher rates due to systemic racism and colorism. And that doesn't surprise us. However, this creates another layer for Black Americans. Black Americans with immigrant backgrounds often see ICE as a direct threat. Some Black Americans are surprised to learn ICE targets Black immigrants too. I think maybe initially Black Americans might have been surprised because we thought the main target was the Latinos and especially the Mexicans. And the president said that Miami, which is where a lot of Cubans live, was going to be ground zero for mass deportation. And I think many Black Americans did think that was going to be the main focus and not Black immigrants. And advocates warn that ICE practices can spill over into Black American communities through policing pipelines. And we saw that in Chicago, but they did rectify that situation. But there are issues with Black Americans who don't have an immigrant background and Black Americans who do have immigrant backgrounds. There's tension there too sometimes. So interestingly and surprisingly, Black Americans have not been as supportive to Black immigrants as you would expect. And this is because of the relationship that has developed. Some Black Americans have experienced being called slurs by immigrants, being stereotyped as lazy, criminal, or inferior, being told we're not like you, or being blamed for America's racial climate. So when you've been disrespected by people who now want your political support, it creates emotional distance. So Black Americans are still at a crossroads when it comes to immigration, deportation, and ICE tactics. Many of us, most of us are going to agree that some of the things that they're doing don't seem right. They just don't. But at the same time, we still have the reluctance to jump in it and fight for somebody who wouldn't fight for us. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But I want to know what you think about it. How do you feel about the question of ICE and whether or not Black Americans should be supportive of immigrants? All of them. Because I know some Black Americans are. Some Black Americans are supportive. But there are some Black Americans who feel very strongly that this is not our fight. So let me know where you stand on this question. Thank you for listening and have a good evening.